Hi there, Jasmine here from Redwood Financial, and this week's frequently asked question is what is assessed when it comes to paying for long-term care costs? Really good question, and obviously whether it's you or whether it's a family member who's experienced going into care, obviously it's a really difficult time. The first thing that has to happen is actually a health assessment of the individual going into care to see whether or not, based on their health, they're eligible for partial or full funding from the NHS and the local authority. But assuming that that health assessment is not met and there is no partial or fully funded support from the government, essentially there then becomes a financial assessment. Here in the UK, if that's where you're based, we have basically a wealth cap, a threshold. So any assets that you have above £23,250 can be assessed by the local authority to pay for your care fees. What's included in anything above that? Well, typically speaking, the majority of your income, certain benefits are excluded, but the majority of your income will be assessed for care fee purposes. Any savings or investments you have, assuming they're not in a special investment bond, which does have an exemption from care fee assessment, and also potentially, depending on your circumstances, also your property can be assessed and possibly forcibly sold in order to pay for care fees. Ultimately, it can mean that, of course, a lot of people are worried about in their later life all of their wealth and assets being stripped down to practically nothing before the local authority will step in and pay. But what about a care fee cap? I think there's been a real misunderstanding in the media in particular, and there was a lot of news a few years ago about this idea of a care cap, and the figure of £72,000 was bandied around by the government at the time. And I think a lot of people in their head believe that that care cap has actually been implemented. It was supposed to be implemented back in 2020. There were promises in the run-up actually to Theresa May's election that we would see actually the care cap increased to £100,000, but actually all of that was scrapped. Of course, whether or not you want to blame COVID or whether or not you believe that it was always going to happen all along, there were lots of obviously things that happened in the run up to 2020, which gave the government the perfect justification for scrapping the care cap altogether. So first of all, that care cap hasn't even been implemented. And second of all, even if it had have been implemented, what was really interesting was the proposal was just about creating a care cap to meet your care costs. And what was really crucial is in the proposed legislation, that cap didn't include your food and lodging, which in a residential care home represent the two biggest costs. So even though they were saying it was a £72,000 cap, in reality, most people would be faced with probably paying at least double before they even reached that cap because of the way in which the legislation was worded. So from the beginning, the proposal was never fit for purpose. And as I say, that cap was never actually introduced. So currently sat here today, there is no care fee cap. The amount that you could end up paying on your care fees is unlimited up to and over and above that £23,250 threshold. What can you do about it? I think that's a lot of the next questions that our clients have. Well, you can take proactive planning. There are lots of things that you can legitimately do to help make sure that your estate is structured in the safest and most tax efficient way, and also sympathetic towards things like care fees. That's not about making sure that you end up in a horrible care home and all of the money is then protected for your beneficiaries, but it is about making sure that the local authority pay their fair share, that your assets are utilised in the most tax efficient and beneficial way to guarantee that they last as long as possible, to pay for a really good standard of care, and ideally then provide some wealth to pass down to the next generation. And it's all about achieving, I think, that overall balance. So if you haven't taken any advice when it comes to care fee planning and you are worried about it, that is something you should definitely seek advice from. We've got lots more information on our website, a downloadable PDF guide on our website, but also we tackle this issue very much in our wills, trusts and estate planning webinar, which is online and you can watch for free. So check that out for more information. And then if you have any questions, just come back to us. I hope that answers this week's frequently asked question, and I look forward to answering more questions with you in the next few weeks. Thanks.